Good evening, parents, and welcome to our first ever virtual college application process night. It's hosted by all three schools' counseling department, and we're going to give you some information about how to go about helping your student navigate the college process. I'm Kathy Teague. I'm from Henderson High School, and along with me is Bobby Crow from Ruston High School and Bill Reichel from East High School.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Tonight's agenda, I'm just going to give you a brief overview so you know what to expect. We're welcoming you to our first virtual one. We're going to talk about Naviance and the application process. We're going to talk about the Common Application, what that is, deadlines that kids can have for their schools, recommendation letters, SATs and ACTs, scholarships, financial aid, NCAA clearinghouse. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have a live question and answer tonight, but we will have something at the end to show you where you can get your questions answered after the presentation.
All right, so Naviance is the main one-stop shop for college and career counseling. The main purpose is for seniors to put in the colleges that they want to apply to. This is where counselors will see where to send transcripts. It's extremely user-friendly. If you need help with it, feel free to reach out to your school counselor. We can Zoom with you, phone call, email. It's super straightforward, but we're happy to help. So when you log in, you'll see different things like the transcripts being sent, recommendation letters being sent, and anything else to the school. So a screen that you should get familiar with is the colleges I'm applying to. This is where you'll see, for example, this student in particular applied to American University, Bryn Mawr College, and a few others. So on here, you'll be able to see their deadlines, if the transcripts were requested from the school counselor, if the office materials were sent, and whether it's via Common App or another way. So in that computer screen, you see a question mark. If it's linked with the Common App, you'll begin to see a CA in there. It's a good way of knowing if then your Common App is linked with Naviance. Like I said earlier, Naviance is kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of different things. So you'll be able to go in and look at many different colleges based on criteria that you set. You can also just look up specific colleges if you have some in mind. And you can go in and look at scattergrams, which show you your GPA, SAT score, and it will tell you then your chances of basically seeing, other students in the past, if they've gotten in, denied, deferred. It's a really useful tool to kind of determine if it's a reach school or not. You can also see if there's college visits coming up. All those are virtual for right now. And then you'll also be able to look at scholarship lists and scholarship matches, which basically is another tool to look for financial aid. So you'll have to go into your Naviance account. It's part of the application process. All students have to go into Naviance and request transcripts to the universities that they want them sent to. So you'll have to click colleges I'm applying to and then request transcripts and check off the schools that you want the transcripts sent to. You then can also request letters of rec via Naviance for teachers ahead of time. So I would send an email, Zoom, ask for their permission, and then follow up with the formal Naviance request. Make sure that you're using your full legal name on applications, no nicknames. It will mess up on the back end if you use, for example, my name's Bill, but my real name's William. If you don't put the full legal name, it will mess up on the back end. So when you log into Naviance, you want to click up at the top, the colleges tab. It brings down this drop-down menu. So some students think that you're working out of the I'm thinking about, but you really should be working out of the I'm applying to with the little cap and tassel. So once you click on that, it'll bring up an ability to add a school, like that first picture up at the top, where in this example, we typed in Temple University, and then we picked early action under app type. Then we picked via Common App, so that way we now know as counselors on the back end that you're submitting this via the Common App. Then you're going to hit request transcript and click initial since it's the first transcript that we're sending. This is just an example of the Naviance home screen. On the left, you have important to-dos. This is where you'll find the senior conference that you'll fill out with your counselor. On the right, you'll have what's new. This is where you'll begin to see colleges that are virtually coming to your school. So this is where you'll click more info, you'll click register, and then at the time of the visit or virtual visit, you will go in for a Zoom link. And this is the time to meet with the admissions rep, to really understand more about the school, and they get to understand more about you. So you're no longer just a transcript, you're now a student. So there's a few deadlines to keep in mind. The first one being rolling admission. There's technically no deadline date for this, but you want to get it in as soon as possible. They'll kind of start looking at them in batches. So there's really no specific deadline, but you also don't really have a deadline of getting it back to you either. Early decision is probably the biggest one, and one that if you're considering, you should talk to not only your parent and guardians, but your school counselor. The reason being it's binding. So if you apply early decision and you get accepted, you have to go to that university. So it's something to take very seriously, and you can only do it for one school. Early action is kind of the best, both worlds, in that you apply early, you find out early, but if you get in, you don't have to go. It's non-binding. So if you're deciding between the two, definitely talk to your school counselor about the pros and cons. And then the other is a priority filing, which is just an earlier date for some schools that help with scholarships, and other things like that. But like I said, if you're thinking early decision or early action, talk to your school counselor about the best option for you.
Okay, so with the common application, which is what Mr. Reichel had brought up a little bit ago, a lot of colleges at this day and age are using the Common App instead of applying for students applying directly to the institution. It's a much easier route to go if you have many colleges that are utilizing the Common App, because you can just use the Common App for several colleges across the board. Common App account must be linked to your Naviance account ultimately, so that they're interfacing together. And once that is linked together, then your teachers and your counselor are able to then submit information to the colleges. It has to be, that is a very important step that must be done so that we can send that information out. If it's not done, we're kind of at a standstill until it is done. Students must go to their Common App. There's a section on there called My Colleges. They click into that section on their dashboard. Their list of colleges will show up, and then they can click into an individual college. And what will happen at that point in time is a section called FERPA waiver and recommenders pops up. They go into their FERPA waiver, and the FERPA waiver is what they need to read through and make the decision on whether or not they want to see teacher recommendations. I think that's an individual choice by student. So they have to make that decision, and then once they sign off electronically on that FERPA waiver, they then go back into their Naviance account, and at the top of the My Colleges I'm Applying To screen, there is a button, for lack of a better word, that says Match Account. They click into Match Account, they enter their email address that they're using for the Common App, click Match Account, and then it links the two accounts together. So that's very important that they do that step. And then they would check for supplements also on the dashboard of their Common App for supplements or essays that they might have to write. So again, Common App, very good use for multiple colleges. And then we have the address here listed for Common App. Other online applicants, almost all colleges provided an online application for colleges for submission at this point. Very few colleges today will ask for a mail-in application, but there are a few out there. So just make sure that you're verifying and checking on that. Sometimes the schools have secondary school report form. The Common App currently has one. What that is a counselor form that we as counselors need to fill out. So just by your counselor if additional information is required, so that we can get that done also as we're completing that information for your child, your students' application information. Submitting applications online is the standard, so just take your time and be thorough.
always check your information as you're filling it out for grammar and everything like that. So this is what I was talking, this is just kind of a snapshot of what I was just talking about in terms of matching the account under the colleges I'm applying to screen. Right at the top, it says in that red bar, just about matching, there's the button there, it says match account. Okay, recommendations. When we talk about recommendations for colleges, it's important for your student to look into each individual college and see, does the college even want recommendations? We talk about like with Penn State doesn't even want recommendations, so they don't need to be concerned with that unless they're applying to Schreyer's Honors College, for instance, which does ask for recommendations. But you know, some colleges do want recommendations, others say send as much as you want. Some are very particular, like again, with Temple University, they only want one recommendation. So again, it's really important to read through the admissions office criteria, the application criteria, and find out how many recommendations they want. And then think about what teachers they'd like to ask. If you're going into a business major, think about, you know, have you had any business classes? Would use your business teacher, obviously, or a math teacher, something along that lines. So look at the major that you're applying to and then consider which teachers would complement that. Think about, well, if you had a teacher once, twice, maybe somebody who knows you very well. Give your teachers at least a 3-week window to write the recommendations so they have that time to carefully and thoroughly write the recommendation. And then they can supply their teachers with a resume or an activity sheet or something that supplements just that teacher knowing the student so that they can build up the recommendation if they should choose so. Things like the Boy Scout, volunteer, and community service is important to let the teacher know about aside from any of their school activities as well. And then once they have asked their teachers for the recommendations, they're going to go back to the Naviance account, and there is a section under the colleges I'm applying to screen at the bottom that says letters of recommendations, where they would click into it and then formally request the recommendations. And this is just a screenshot on the homepage under apply to colleges. So right at the top where it says colleges, they would just drop down on the screen and click on letters of recommendation. Okay, so really students can ask just about anybody to write the recommendations. They definitely want to make sure that they get at least one academic teacher to write a recommendation, sometimes two, depending on what the colleges are asking for. But ask really a teacher, a coach, an administrator, definitely their counselor who's been working with them for up to 4 years is a good choice. So they would get, again, these are the steps right here on the screen where they can go to Naviance website, click on the colleges tab again, under apply to colleges, letters of recommendation, subheading. All right, they can click on the add and cancel request link if they'd like to. Pull down menu and highlight the teacher. This is where they would highlight the teacher they want to send the request to. They may write to the teacher requesting the recommendation, which is optional, but it's a nice little touch to just say thank you for writing the recommendation. I really appreciate it. And they can also put in that optional section, when the general deadlines are, so the teacher kind of has a heads up as to when they might want to make sure they get them in by. Make sure that they also click submit request or the request won't go through. That's an important follow through step right there. It's important to also note that this is going to be on the website so that if you forget any of these steps, we're going to load these onto our each individual website so that you have the follow-up information to go back to and rely on.
Okay, so I know that probably this year, more so than any year, there's a lot of anxiety over SATs and ACT scores, as many of them were canceled in the spring, and some have been canceled even this fall. There have been a few that are running. if you had the chance to take the SATs and ACTs and you would like to send them to the colleges, just want you to know that that is responsibility of the student to do that through the .com website or the actstudent.org website. They are not on transcripts. So if you do want to report your scores to any colleges, just make sure that you go on and have them sent to those colleges. I will let you know that this year, many of our colleges are going to test optional because of all the cancellations because of the pandemic. I was just recently on a Zoom virtual college information session with 5 of the top, I would say, Duke, Georgetown, University of Pennsylvania, Stanford, I think one more that I can't think of. They all did assure us that we are test optional, and if students decide to not send any test scores, either because they didn't like the scores or because they didn't get a chance to take them, that will not hurt them in any way when they are reviewing their application. If they go test optional, that is taken out of the equation fully and completely. And every admissions officer said the same thing, that will not be held against them. So while I know there's a little bit of anxiety for kids who didn't get to take them, you know, I'm trusting that what the admissions officers say is true. Well, it was not within your control if they were canceled. So, you know, be a strong applicant with everything else. You can be a strong applicant with your essay, with the rigor of your courses, and with your transcript. And then we will go from there.
And I'm just going to jump in here and say that I know that with some of the colleges I've talked to, because they are test optional, that they're saying, you know, send other information, send a resume, send, you know, make sure you send in recommendations, send other information about yourself that will build your application up because you don't have those test scores. So here, we're just going to give you some information on scholarships. There is a ton of different ways that you can go about finding out about scholarships for your son or daughter. There are some links in your Naviance account. Again, it's right under the link for colleges I'm applying to. But if you click on the tab right at the top of your son or daughter's Naviance home account, click on colleges, it drops down, and at the very bottom, it says scholarships and money. You can click into that link and it will bring you to, I think it's 3 different location links that will allow you to search for various scholarships. That is in the Naviance account where you can search for scholarships. There's a couple of websites listed here, collegeboard.com, fastweb.com, very good sites, again, to search for scholarships. They will allow you to input different criteria about your son or daughter, which will narrow the search pool down quite nicely to not make it so overwhelming. And then go into scholarships individually and see, well, am I interested in applying to it? How difficult, how easy is it to apply to the scholarship? Some scholarships are very easy to apply to. You just fill out a form, send a transcript, you're done. Other ones are more involved. They involve writing an essay, filling out an application. And they definitely do take time to complete and to research them, but it's free money. So if you have the time to do that, I would definitely research scholarships. We have all 3 of our high schools hold a scholarship committee in the spring. So those applications get sent out to all seniors, usually early to mid-March. So be on the lookout for that. And I would encourage seniors to apply for that pool of money so that they can get money for some scholarships that are generously donated by community businesses and private members. There are a lot of apps on smartphones that you can download onto your phone, which make it super easy and manageable. It helps you manage it very easy, which you can, again, enter personal information for your student, and it will ping your phone when there's like with reminders of deadlines. And again, it's just entering personal criteria about your student that will narrow that search pool down to make it easy and manageable to research scholarships. There's a lot of just various ways that you can search for scholarships. So we all encourage your student to get out there and start looking, get through the application season, and then really jump into researching for scholarships. Financial aid is definitely different than scholarships. Financial aid is money based on financial need. So you really want to get a start on that, because as you can see here, you would start filing your FAFSA and the CSS profile form as of October 1st. You don't want to wait on that. It's based, on your need, and once that money is gone, it's gone. So again, it opens up, those both open up as of October 1st. The website is listed there for FAFSA. Make it a list of, your financial aid priority deadlines and dates, and get busy with that if you're going to be applying for financial aid.
Yeah, Bobby, I would just like to get on that one too, that I definitely think, I've talked to some people about financial aid that do it, and
Yeah.
with the changing employment status of many,
Right.
what's going on, that there's going to be a lot more people applying than have applied in the past.
Yeah, and I want to mention also, for a lot of people who feel like they may not qualify for financial aid, I would still file it, because you don't know, especially in our climate right now, just don't know what may happen down the road. So if you file it and something occurs, you have to wait until the next year to be able to try to be eligible again. So you file it, you don't qualify, and you're fine. But if something that happens, you're on record, and you can go back and kind of plead your case and see if they can do anything for you. So I would definitely just fill out the work, get it in, and then you're on record at least. We are holding a financial aid night virtual on October 19th at 7 p.m. So if you're interested in sitting in on that, please do so.
All right, so if you are planning on playing a Division I or Division II sport, you need to go through the Eligibility Center and create a student profile, and you also have to request that a transcript be sent via Naviance. So this is something that if you are planning on playing Division I or Division II, you need to let your school counselor know as soon as possible. They need to then work with the NCAA coordinator at their school and make sure that your profile is created. There is a fee to have that created. And then that allows the transcript to be sent to the NCAA clearinghouse, which allows coaches, or maybe you already have a college, your specific coach, to then see your academic records. So if you're playing Division I or Division II, it's a necessity. You have to do it in order to be cleared through the NCAA. So talk to your school counselor if you are planning on playing a Division I or Division II sport. So this is the website here. This is what it looks like, and it talks about how you can see if you're eligible. It talks about the different courses that are required, but more importantly, you want to create an account and get that started ASAP. So senior conferences are going on now. This is something that a lot of you have already signed up, I'm sure, via Calendly or email or phone call. The junior conferences will be starting in December and then running through the winter. So pay attention for that if you have younger children too. There's not a bad question. I always tell my students I'd rather you send me a million emails than none at all. If you have questions, that's why we're here. With the day and age of Zoom, now you can Zoom us, share your screen, show us kind of where you're running into issues. It makes it a lot easier, to be honest. I know some parents have already said they enjoy these Zooms because they can Zoom from work and attend these conferences now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take advantage of this software, and please reach out with any and all questions, because you guys have worked hard for this moment. So it's something that we want to help you celebrate in and find that right fit for you. So lastly, your child's counselor is a great resource. Email us, let us know what you need help with. That's why we're here.
We want to make it as smooth and easy for everybody as possible.
Definitely.
I would encourage you to encourage your seniors to check their emails frequently. I know that we are scheduling some kids if they haven't scheduled themselves yet. So I want to make sure that they see those Calendly Zoom invites so that we can help them get this process started.
Right. And it's really important that they, either schedule, like Ms. Teague just mentioned, that they schedule their appointment as soon as possible. We're trying to get them in as soon as possible so that they understand the process, so that we can see if they have any questions. We can help them, move through it with a little bit more ease. If they're unsure, especially of what they want to do, it's really important that they get in to see us. We're taking credits with them, making sure they're on target for graduation. Making sure they're not missing something. That's especially important. But definitely, we're just here to really help them, help you through the process. And if you have any questions at all, please reach out to your son or daughter's counselor via email, via phone call, so that we can all be on the same page together.